Parshav Jain in another episode of our podcast series, Unfiltered Talks. So today we got like a very special guest, Saurabh Aggarwal, founder of Fractal KX and XP League Frisco. So he is living a American dream. He started coming from a small town from Hansi to Texas. So today we will discuss his journey from a small town to a Texas and know more about his industry, his experience, his learning. So a lot of things we are going to capture and take a lot of learning from this episode. Welcome, Saurabh, in our podcast.
Well,
Thanks for
thank you,
taking your time.
Parshav. It's great to connect with you. It was good to connect a month ago also. I think it's good to know some people who are building in the same space. I'm very happy to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's just always like for every new industry to evolve, I believe it's always good to collaborate rather than compete because like it's collaboration because the world is so big, user base is so big. It's always good to collaborate, learn from each other from like mistakes, and if we can help each other as a founders because being a founder is like a very lonely journey. You really can't talk about the real truth with your family, with your friends, with your team. So it's like really so it's just only another founder can understand, and that's one of the reason like why I started this podcast series to keep it unfiltered as much as possible because a lot of people want to start their entrepreneurship journey and they should know how easy or how tough it could be. They can well prepare themselves before they jump into this wagon. So,
Absolutely.
Saurabh, like you have been like worked at a very senior level in Salesforce, many skill technologies, and now in a startup. So, how does that journey shift, and like, what was your main reason to start a esports career or company?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think there are like many things. I feel like it's like I call it as a self-fulfilled prophecy, right? I feel, and I don't want to get into more spiritual discussion because I'm very spiritual, but I truly believe that our life journey culminates into the purpose of our life, and I feel like you have like these different experiences that eventually bring you towards your purpose, right? So I would say similar to that is like I graduated as a computer science back, when the internet was a thing, right? And I guess we were all like accidental, engineers got into IT. It was a boom, right? So um, yeah, I think that's why I started my career. But I also felt over the period of time that I was much more creative and I was always looking for outlets, creative outlets, what I could do actually beyond just my typical IT job, right? So I had always my two sides, right? One was my corporate side, like I'm gonna learn, grow in the corporate using technology. A good thing was I got to work with some really great organizations out of India as well as in US. Majority of my career I've been in US actually, barring some periods I was in India. So I think that gave me I was really, really fortunate enough to understand what business problems are, right? Like how technology solves those business problems. So I think that's what my learning cycle was. And eventually, I feel like there was a part of me who was always wanting to give back, right? Wanting to like, how can I really help younger people, right? Like the next generation who should have a lot of opportunities. I mean, I've been a gamer. I won't call myself as a PC gamer or a hardcore gamer, but throughout my life as I was growing up, we used to play Mario, we used to play Contra, a lot of those old games, right? It was fun. And being from small town, there were very less opportunities. So I do remember going to like small confectionery shops and renting a small, a TV and like a console, right? To just play for an
Yeah,
hour.
yeah,
And those reminiscences were still there, always with me, right? Like it was fun. And then I think like during last 20 years, I also played on, whether it was PS3, it was Xbox. Started playing on those, but I guess like last 10 years there was a gap when I really didn't play a lot. So, but you know what? Like my son started playing. So he's 15, so almost like 5, 6 years ago. He was like, I want to play games. So I always looked at games as it's fun, but how can you make it more learning experience, right? How can you really help convert that into a learning as well as a career? Actually. So 3 years ago, that's when I had some time. I started thinking about I want to build something more community focused, right? Where gives an opportunity to a lot of people who are in gaming, and especially parents, right? Like parents, that's the biggest challenge. Most parents don't understand. Like I don't blame them, right? The place I live at in Texas, it has significant Southeast Asian population, but there is significant. It's a very diverse community, and but keeping that aside, I think every parent I could talk to, like you're like, we don't know what to do with gaming. They did not see gaming as a mechanism for kids to learn, right? So that's where I started my journey. Like, yeah, I think youth esports is a really good place to start because you can really convert that into a learning experience, a more positive gaming experience, right? Build the skills that kids need. And there was a lot of space actually because US entirely, most of the cities have like a lot of educational augmentation, right? Like you have external classes and all that, a lot of enrichment activities, but there was nothing for gaming. I think that's how it all started. Zero idea on how esports operates. I just knew gaming. I was very new to PC gaming also, the structured way of gaming, which is more competitive gaming. So you can call me as someone who started zero and just learned, how it works, why kids do it, and then was extremely lucky to find some really great people in that journey who are my coaches or my staff who uh, operate XP League Cisco, right? That's what I've been doing last 3 years, and then in parallel, I got so passionate about it as I was learning more. I was like, this is a great space. Like it was like the childhood came back, right? Like I need to do something with it. That gamer told me like I need to bring my experience, right, of what it means to do business, what it means to leverage tech, right? And that's when Tactical Gates was born, like around 7 months ago. That's the short story.
Amazing. This is crazy. Like obviously, like coming from a short, small town, living their own dreams, and now relive those dreams in as a gamer. So how, if you don't mind, like disclosing your age, like how much age differences now between you and your team members? How are they? And is there a mismatch, or is it a fun to work with young kids? Because like I'm sure like your team would be like, let's say, very young.
Yeah, I think it's one of my favorite topics I like to talk, especially people my age, and especially coming from the culture where we are like, hey, whatever older people say is the truth. That's the wisdom, right? And as younger, you just follow. I think I understood very early like it goes both ways. I mean, as elders, like you want to pass on your wisdom, right, and your knowledge, but then I think I found a lot of value in listening to younger people. I feel like sometimes we do injustice by not understanding younger generation, what their dreams are, what their passions, how they look at the world, right? So it's more about understanding that perspective and bridging that gap, right? It has been like really amazing journey from that perspective because most of my staff is half my age, obviously. Young people, but I love working with them because they've grown up in a different generation, right? We grew up in the generation where like, yeah, we have to work out something, we have to find a job, we have to do whatever we need to, right? They're a little different, right? They know what they want to do. So as long as they find that, they give their 100%. So over the years, I think that's what I have kind of adopted is like how to work with younger people. Like what are they looking for? Identify their talent, right? Instead of me going and telling them like, hey, you need to work on this, I try to work the other way around. Like what is it that they want to achieve? What is it that they want to learn? I think it's been pretty successful and rewarding for me.
No, absolutely. Like in one of the interview, even like Mr. Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, also said, if you are building it for a consumer, that too for the next generation, you really need to like appoint or hire a young talent because you are building for them, so they should be there in your team. It can't be built with an experienced team for the young generation.
Yeah,
So definitely that's definitely required. So what? Tell me one more thing. If you have to explain fractal to a 10-year-old kid, how will you explain that?
I mean, what I would say is like, if you wanna really you enjoy gaming and you think it's fun, wait till it can become a career for you. Wait, it can convert you into a professional and something that you can really build your skills and take lifelong. And I think that's where I feel like uh, being like my understanding last year, and then all regions are quite different. I think I was in US, so I understood more from a US trajectory, like how esports grew here. But then most regions have their own trajectory. So in my view, I think a lot of esports grew like not bottoms up. So it's more like, hey, let's do tournaments. There's a lot of prize money, right? So while it gave a lot of hype, a lot of it brought in money, VCs and all that, but I think the I would say the career options were not there. I think it's a very short stint for players or anyone who wants to build a career, right? So um, one interesting thing that I tell everyone, like I create an analogy, right? Like when we were growing up, cricket was a big thing, right? IPL wasn't there, and we used to play at home, right? We would just
Yeah.
find a spot and bunch of kids and just fun, right? But we or our parents, we never looked at it as something that could be a potential career, right? It is something that can uh, bring money, basically, right? So uh, now that look at it, right, like that structured development of the infrastructure of like how I feel, how other leagues and really come into play. I think it's very evident, right, that you need that structured both physical and digital infrastructure, right? And one of the things I really like about US is that those foundations work very well for sports, right? Traditional sports. Like most of the high schools, right? Like starting from middle school, high school, in colleges, right? That foundation is very evident, and that's how athletes are formed. That's how athletes come to the Olympics or like any major worldwide championships, right? And US does phenomenally well because it's the foundation, right? I think that realization made me feel like I think there's something similar I need to work on, which is not just like, hey, let's do something big, let's do an event, right? I think there is a funnel that needs to be created. Those opportunities need to be there for younger kids. It's very youth, right? Like if you look at entire esports, it's entirely youth oriented. And if we are not building systems for them, right? If we are not building pathways for them, where actually they are not just learning, right? They are actually doing it in a more structured way, and they are like competing, they are improving, right? So that is where like factory takes something to play. So for a 10-year-old, that's my pitch. You love gaming, and do you want to make it into your career? You want to grow your skills? That's what will help you.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, because these are like very young kids, very vulnerable. If we don't give them a right direction, it could be misleading, and that's what it had happened till now. Because a lot of kids, they start as a gaming, in playing as a gaming as a hobby, but they want to be a esports athlete, but they don't know how to become an athlete, and there is no structured approach. Like in cricket, you give that analogy. Like there is a state level, district level, there you reach Ranji Trophy and national, international. So that's a complete roadmap is there. But over here, it's not like that till now. So there is a big opportunity and big ask. We need to give them a right direction so that they can actually build a career in esports.
Yeah, I think it's the legitimacy also, right? Like I think, uh, and I don't blame rest of the world. Like a lot of people see it as a hobbyist culture, right? It's a hobbyist industry. It's not like a real industry. I see a lot of people think that way, right? And there's still comparisons made between sports and esports that way. But I do feel that I rely on the fact that I really believe that esports has a great future. It's a great future, and I see it as a not just as a way for them to become an esports athlete. I think there's so many possibilities for younger kids to become entrepreneurs. To really, they can get into esports industry or just from the skills they can actually choose other career also, right? So I think it's a great educational mechanism, not just like playing games.
Absolutely, Saurabh. Like we are also launching our esports academy, just on the same thought process that people should beyond. So I was talking to one of the team owner and a founder. So she mentioned that like they have a roster, but after 7 8 years of grind, when they were not able to make it to the say large events and teams in any large championship, so they have to like forgo their like career now, because and that's in any sport, the careers, the span is very small in which you have to achieve and build something. And that's the time when people don't realize, even like these kids ignore their studies, these kids then just focus on, but eventually they don't end up anywhere, because again, lack of structured approach of learning and approach. So we over here we also provide like different curriculums where people just don't become a good gamer, but those 10,000 hours of gaming, how they can convert into a proper real world career as well. Say for example, they scout for sponsorship, or that's a sales skills, how they map it. If we can map those things, I think like there could be a great sales and marketing teams in any corporate, in any D2C brand as well.
No,
Because
I totally agree with what you said. I think um, I really feel like it's some ways responsibility of not just the public space, right? Like governments and all that. I think it's a lot of responsibility of experienced professionals, entrepreneurs to like pave that way for them, right? Like I take a lot. It's so rewarding, I cannot tell you. Like for me, the most rewarding thing is when I see young kids play, and I have seen kids walking into our experience expo, and they were very shy. They won't talk, right? And their parents are like, we don't know what it is, but we want our kid to be not shy. They want them to be more social, right? They want to feel them that they belong, right? And I can see that, right? It's so rewarding. Same kid within 6 months, they're a different kid. They feel that they belong in this group, right? Because they don't like traditional sports or like whatever reasons, right? They just want to belong there. So just the trajectory of their growth, it is amazing. It's and then honestly, like systems, factory makes parties is a kind of what we do. We are also building systems related to how we can really develop, right, young athletes actually. But it actually came from, for me, it came from the on the ground experience on what we do at Experience Frisco. Just within 3 years, we can see the impact that it is creating. Uh, we have a national championship every year with the league. Like close to 200 teams go there on different game titles, and we have 10 teams going this year almost, and which is almost like 100 people just from our location, along with their parents, along with their our coaches. It's a big crew, right? So it's an experience in itself, and all these kids are learning at how to compete in a healthy manner, right? They are learning leadership skills, they're learning creative skills, right? They're learning strategic skills. So that's so important, right? So I think that's the future for esports. Is it's such a new industry, and it's all Gen Z, Gen Alphas, right? So I think I see it as a dual track for them. Yes, we need a structured learning, which is understanding the concepts in esports, concepts, game mechanics of each game, right? Every region has their own game, doesn't matter, right? Each game you can learn, what the mechanics are, but your fundamentals remain the same. How you compete as a team, right? What's role that you play, right? Those are all like our traditional sports terminology. So I see it as a dual structure for very younger kids, right? Like, yeah, you need structured learning, but you need competition. You need to be able to compete in a healthy manner. That's how you improve, right? That's how you personalize your progress. So, yeah.
No, definitely. So what's a like what a decision you made at Fractal that felt risky at that time, but it was very much rewarding, and that became maybe a masterstroke for you?
I think it's an evolving thing. You would understand after like I feel like startup is not never like it's a vision, right? And you start kind of dissecting your vision into what's a good place to start. So I think for me it was like always okay. This is what I want to start. This makes sense, but also then pivoting from that a little bit. So I won't say like it's in a way it's risk. I think it's more about improvising and see what works, what people want, what kids want. Building based on that. I think it's an ongoing journey for me. Again, because it's not a mature market that we know exactly what people want. So it's just based on let's build for our users, let's build for our players, let's build for the esports professionals. That's what we do it.
Oh, no, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. And maybe like what's the next frontier for Fractal, like that excites you the most? Like what are the like next steps? Where do you see like Fractal 6 months, 1 year down the line, or 5 years down the line?
Yeah, I think my goal is obviously we are heavily investing into Southeast Asia. So because I see that as a very different region, there's a lot of scale there. There's a lot of young gamers. So I think in terms of just the impact can be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, versus US is a little different. I think the school systems have adopted to some extent. Esports high schools have teams, flavors is already conducting, tournaments and leagues and everything. The collegiate system is now developing versus like Southeast Asia. It's all just like there's no structure. It's not in schools and colleges, right? So I think we are just looking at that aspect. Like how do we bring that in the institutions, right? How we bring it to the institution because institution adoption is what will help it scale, right? So in US, I think our focus is going to be like let's go to colleges and help collegiate system because we see a lot of opportunity for these college students, right? How they get into football, how they get into baseball, how they get into like other sports, right? So similar thing, I think there's a lot of possibility in the collegiate system. Uh, in Southeast Asia, it's a little different because a lot of schools and colleges are more private, right? So there it's going to be a little different. I think it's going to evolve. That's my take. I think first change that's needed is gaming to a more structured way. So there's no point thinking about competitions and all that. I think it's more about let's put the fundamentals in, right? Let's take that to the institutions, right? And the community players there, like who understand what they have the access to the kids. But we bring what it means to provide an esports education, what it means to build an athlete, right? Other than like their regular studies and all that, right? There's so many things kids are learning nowadays: AI, cybersecurity, content creation, right? It's another path actually, and use gaming as a mechanism. I think that's underplayed a lot of times. I think it's high time for a lot of these regions to understand that gaming and esports can be a great way to engage their kids and happen.
So what's that? Sorry, what's that one thing in AI you think like can be implemented in esports and in which can make it more productive and efficient? Which is like one underrated AI thing which can be if we implement in the industry, it could be like a bigger thing which can help the young generation.
Um, I mean, there are many use cases. I feel AI itself in general is evolving a lot. I think being in the heart of this entire new innovations around AI, I can see the already impact across different industries. Like it's creating disruption, right? And when I compare that with, and then, for example, healthcare, right, or finance, right, there's already health tech and fintech, right, where AI is already making an impact, right? We're already hearing that AI is going to be able to give prescriptions. AI will be able to do research and provide more data, right? So I think I see it as in the same way for esports. I see that, and sports to some extent. It's very interesting that I find like esports is tech, right? Because you're playing games. It's all tech actually. But really on the esports side, like there's not much tech work done. So I see a very, very bright future in terms of what AI can do. I think there are many use cases as this industry will grow. A lot of those use cases will become prominent. I think at this point of time, I really feel leveraging AI has to be done with guardrails. So we should not be relying fully on AI to find a solution. I think it's more like use it as an accelerator. That's what we do, right? I use AI as an accelerator. How can you accelerate your work that you do manually, right? Whether you are creating curriculum, whether you're doing a content creation, whether you're creating a framework, right? Use it as an accelerator, but validate it, right? Human in the loop is important. Validating it, reviewing it is super important. So I think more than what it can do, how it should be done is very important right now. And I think as it evolves and it becomes more mature, people will see the real benefits of it. Straight away, I mean, some use cases I can see like what we are working on is how can you develop more frameworks, curriculum frameworks using AI? Because I really feel like alignment of how you educate kids has to be aligned with the local curriculum framework, right? So if I'm in Texas, Texas has its own curriculum framework. Similarly, if you're in India or you're in Southeast Asian countries, every country has their own curriculum framework. You have to align with the policy, you have to align with the framework. So that's super important. I mean, any coach can go to ChatGPT or Gemini and say like, "Hey, generate like a lesson plan for me for this particular game," right? It'll give something, right? But it's not validated. You cannot rely on AI to give you an exact structured way of like what looks good actually, what will be more effective. I think building using AI, but with more guardrails and more structure is very very important. I think in the same way, if you go to the pro scene, um I think what's going to matter is, and whether there's so much work that will be done or that can be done, is partnerships, right? Like how to prove ROI on the partnerships and sponsorships. How to really embed AI in the more personalized learning, right? Like you have game APIs, you can use the game APIs, you can build so many insights using AI, right? You can use machine learning. So I think that's where a lot of mature use cases will go, is like how do you really leverage game data to really build insights and help athletes and coaches and
Oh, absolutely. Definitely, it requires like a lot of human intervention, that experience, and that experience is very unique combination. The person needs to know the game mechanics as well, and that person should also have a academician thought process and as a teacher as well, so that like they can create that curriculum like which can give actual learning and skill set can be developed for the kids. And that too in esports education is not much talked about and not be adopted. So I think like AI cannot give you like 100%
yeah.
accurate results. So, so you repeatedly emphasize on the systems over tournaments, and so what do you think? Like, what is the biggest loophole or biggest system you want to introduce in esports that can elevate the industry? Which is the like missing esports piece as
Yeah,
a
I mean,
system?
if I just look at like both US and I've been looking at like India and some of the good side. I think the challenge is, which is younger kids, they want to have fun and they want to win something. That's the motivation, right? They want to make money while having fun. Let me put it simply, right? And that's what really paved the way for online gaming, right? And tournaments and all that. So I really feel like that's a good opportunity because you want to help young kids monetize, right, and have fun. But I feel like the system that's missing from it is a more structured learning also, like no do's and don'ts, right? It's without that structure, without that support, right? Uh, it's going to be a very short-lived experience for them, unfortunately. So I think that's my goal is, and I think I tried with also while esports is growing, right, for it to become a self-sustainable industry for a lot of people to find like a full-time career opportunities, right? It's gonna take some time. So I see it as how can you really help these kids who want to play games and they want to continue learning within this, but they can pursue other work skills also. They can pursue other career options also, right? I see it that way. Like I am a techie, but I am also a business entrepreneur. I'm a marketing person also, right? I like doing multiple things. I think that's how the younger generation is, right? So the goal is like have to be able to help build those skills in them, so that they're not just like, hey, I'm gonna have fun and win some money, right? You want them to be able to, you want to be able to embed a learning experience that process. And even if you look at from their perspective, right? If I'm playing in a team in a tournament and I won like straight 2 prizes, right? And that next one I lost it, right? And I have no idea why I lost it, why our team lost it. So being able to dissect it, right? You need a system, you need a process in this, right? Like so they know exactly what they're missing, how they need to do, what do they need to do to get an edge, right? It's a constant process. So I think that infrastructure needs to be there as part of the overall.
No, absolutely. That's very much required. As rightly mentioned about the content creation aspect. So there is a study which says like by 2030, every corporate will have a content creation department like any other department, HR, finance, technology, or sales, marketing. So along with sales marketing, there will be a full-blown content creation department because there's going to be a war on content. Whosoever is generating more and more content and leveraging like best hooks to attract the audience. So I think like that's where this young generation can create that career path to become like not maybe everybody can't be an influencer, but yes, a content creator. Yes, I think like that could be a good way. By streaming, they are doing streaming their own matches, games. So I'm sure like they can leverage that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think as we discussed, like, there's so many pathways to this, right? And the more I see is the economy is going towards a more entrepreneurial, more individual gigs, right? I think the new generation doesn't want to work like for a job, basically, right? So I think that itself is a path in its
I,
own way where kids can like, hey, I want to stream, like that's a full-fledged income stream now for a lot of kids, a lot of young gamers, right? So absolutely, I think content creation is one of the most important things of this. I mean, we do it all the time. Uh, our experience with so we have had like some of the content reach like more than 1 million. It's just amazing, and just the type of content, and it's like very informational. A lot of our coaches do like informational content videos, and it really like strikes with like so many young people, and they identify with it, right? So I think that's where the learning is going to be. Like content creation is one part, and then what kind of content are you building, right? How much authentic it is, right? Who's your audience, right? That's where the learning is going to be. So yeah, there's no doubt about that. In this attention economy, content is going to be more and more important to get attention.
yeah, it's a brands also look for attention, like who got like the maximum attention, maximum engagement on their content.
Yeah.
So if you have to design like a path for a youth to pro, what will be that esports pipeline if you have to build it from scratch? What could it look like?
I think I would say like, I mean, again, there are different pathways, right? So and there are so many different roles that young people could play. So I mean, to me, one is like more academic path, right? Like you can give there, you can be a coach, you can manage programs, you can manage collegiate programs, academic programs, things like those, right? So that's a typical academic path. The second is obviously entrepreneurial path. Like, hey, I want to open my own esports org. I want to have a marketing agency. I want to have my own small team, right? That's competing. So entrepreneurial roles are going to be there. Individual companies, like I am one single sole person company, right? That's completely possible. You don't need like a large 100 people, 500 people organization. A lot of younger people will be able to like create solo companies and really like build businesses out of it, especially with AI and the skills that they're learning with AI, leveraging like how to create content, how to like really speed up the process of content creation, hosting, and like publishing.
Editing.
Yeah, so that part, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Other than that, like within tournaments, within leagues, there's so many roles, right? Like you have broadcasters, you have observers, you have production, right? I think a lot of those opportunities will be there. I see it as the same way. Like there's going to be a opportunity in academics. There's going to be opportunity in doing small businesses, solo businesses, and there's going to be an opportunity in large businesses, right? Where you're learning, right? You're playing a role during an event, right? Or you have an operator role. So I think those kind of opportunities definitely are on the ground.
The person could be like a GFX artist, VFX artist, people who manages Discord, people who manages editing part and like sound part. So that's just like a lot of like a small to large roles. Obviously, there's like a thing, and like I also believe like there could be a large churn of esports influencers, like how TikTok influencer economic view. So by that, like I'm sure like there could be a lot of esports influencers which will be coming to challenge maybe TikTok influencers, random guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we already trends are clear that a lot of organizations are already considering gaming communities as their target market. Right? uh, and then they're starting to see how they can really market within that economy, right? And then which is it comes in form of sponsorships also, right? But I'm not just talking about tournament sponsorships or league sponsorships. I'm talking about presence of influencers and viewers, right? And then a lot of brands are now looking at how do you reach to them, right, directly? How do you really leverage their presence to market your product? So
Yeah.
I think that itself is pretty evident that it's going to grow.
Correct. So, what's the like most surprising thing you have learned about kids when they put into like esports structured program?
Uh, I think most surprising thing, you mean like when they walk in or after some time, like just help me understand
Yeah.
further.
So after enrolling, after getting into the like system, how it helps them? What's the like?
Yeah, I will. I will say not surprising, but definitely I have observed this. Like you know, kids go into like different classes, right? So some kid goes to a martial arts class, or some kid goes to a swimming class, right? And those are like more essential skills, right? Like yeah, when parents say like you need to know this, right? Esports is a very different thing. We have not seen much attrition. Like once kid walks in, they stay. They are like we have kids who joined us on day one 3 years ago, and they are still with us. Actually. So what it tells me is that kids really love finding a structured way of doing this. They are not bored. They have a way to progress, right? And they have a way to showcase it. I think that's one thing that has stayed with me. Like if we leverage a more structured way of doing things, it will not leave. They love giving so much. You just need to make sure that you love their passion and you provide a way to them. So that's very striking because especially if you look at younger kids, right? They have tendency to switch, right? Oh, I like this, and after 1 month I don't like it. I'm going to do something else, right? They keep on switching their activities also. But this is one thing I'm definitely to some extent surprised that they just stick to this. There's definitely very less attrition.
Correct. And so you also talk about a lot of time like about identity and trust in esports ecosystem. Why is identity such a foundational like a problem in gaming?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think if you really ask me, I kind of started understanding some of the problems that I personally encountered when I started Experience with Pro. Like, not coming from esports background, I was like, I need to know someone who understands esports, right? I need to know who can help me take this off the ground. And in that process, I found some good people, I found some not so good people, and I was like, I came across this term that Gen Z use called grifters. So grifters are the kids who are like, and they've always been around in other industries where you're like, you are not a subject matter expert, but you show that you're a subject matter expert, right? Every industry has that. You build a certain resume, but your resume doesn't do justice to what your actual skills are, right? And why does happen? Because there's no way to verify it. There's no way to know, right? Especially for newer industry. It's not mature yet. So what happens is like most of the esports players or like professionals, right? They would always go and like, I know someone, you know someone, this is a good kid, let's hire. So where's the evidence? So as this, I don't think there's an immediate it was so small. But eventually, I believe like if you really compare with, for example, LinkedIn or I say GitHub, right? It is on the developer side. GitHub is a kind of evidence of what developers do. So if I'm going to hire a techie, right, or a developer, I just have to ask them, show me your GitHub. I will understand what the work that they have done, right? I don't need to interview them also.
Hmm.
So I think it's a similar way like I look at for esports also. I don't think you have to like you need to have enough data, evidences, their portfolio to know that they are like a verified professional. That's how we look at like a verified professional.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, definitely. So one of the in one of my previous startups, so random person came and mentioned himself as a CTO of the company. I said,
Yeah.
dude, like, how can you put that? And like when I raised the concern with even LinkedIn, so even LinkedIn didn't help us. Okay, like to remove that profile. I said, like, I have not hired that person. He's giving a wrong impression to the world, and like my investors are asking who is the real CTO. So that's like a very much like a trustless system, which I think like current social
I
media.
think the part of the problem is I think last 15, 20 years it's mostly has been a social media economy, right? Social media world. And social media doesn't bring authenticity. I can tell you
Yeah.
that. It's noise, it's hype, it's like whoever gets endorsements, whoever gets attention, right? So somewhere in that, the authenticity and that gets like in the way, actually, right? So while LinkedIn is a great tool for corporate people to find jobs, find talent, and all that, I think we all know that, right? There's always gaps in that, right? Because just so much noise. Now you can always have a separate social layer. You can build communities using Discord. You can build your communities using tournament platforms, right? Those are great places for people to connect. But how do you know that who they are? What have they really done, right? You need to help them build that. You need to help them understand that they need a place where they're parking their portfolio, where they are able to like put their actual evidences.
And how do you validate those things, Saurabh? So suppose if somebody like I gave you that example, like somebody put that he's a CTO in the company. Somebody they say, okay, like I'm a coach in this organization. How do you validate that? And
Yeah.
how much you are leveraging AI in that, and how much is like human checkers are there?
Yeah, you're asking me now Arena ID solutions. Arena ID is one of the offerings of
Yeah.
McKinsey. That's how we have built Arena ID. Um, I think there are two aspects, right? One is there's always manual checks and balances everywhere, right? That's the traditional way of doing things. If you look at Twitter, you look at like you have a verified check, right? So someone verifies if that's the same person, and verification happens at the different level, right? There's a verification which means are you the same person you are claiming to be, right? Especially if you really look at gaming esports, it's all anonymous. People don't bring themselves up, right? So knowing real identity is a big problem. I think that's one level of verification that okay, is the person who has a certain profile, are they the same person, right? Or presenting themselves. The second is like for the work that they claim that they have done, right? Which is, hey, I have been a player with certain team, or I was part of this event and I did this gig, right? Like it can be a small thing. It doesn't have to be. Is another problem like why LinkedIn treats jobs as a sequential thing, right? Or you need to have a job for 2 years and then have a job. I don't think we are going to live in that economy. It's like foolish to think that people will have a sequential, career. I think it's going to be like I can be playing multiple roles at the same time.
Same time.
Those
Correct.
roles are going to be maybe 1 week. They could be like an event based, right? Why don't you want to count that experience, right? So I think that traditionally doesn't work according to me, or at least my belief is I feel very strongly that that needs to change. So my thought process is I'm going to start with the esports. Uh, I think what we do is we leverage AI to first make sure is there is there a way, and then AI does it very well, where it can pull the evidences from your digital footprint based on the details that you provide on whether are you the same person, whether your experience matches what you claim. In addition to that, so there are like several ways I use AI. There's a very simple approval process for verification is AI is able to go through your evidence, your profile, your roles, and it can say like it matches 90%, I'm gonna approve you. You have a verified identity, right? Another layer is I can see like 60%, but I need more evidence. So share more screenshots, share more articles, right? Evidence, right? And then you use that basically, right? So the idea is like AI can help you accelerate this process. I mean, previously it has always been manual, right? Like someone you need to employ someone like who's going to. It's like government job, right? Or government thing where you need to submit papers and things, right? Like to just demonstrate that. I think we are living in a digital economy now, digital world. There's enough digital footprint people have, and if not, start from somewhere, right? Start from I want to build my digital footprint, right? And make sure that my digital footprint is safe, it's secure, but it's available to whoever I need want to look at it.
So can this be used with, say, for example, for LinkedIn as well? For example, whether can LinkedIn use your solution to give this authenticity? Or if I want to, if I give you a LinkedIn profile, say, can you, whether that's ID verification or that proof of work, which we call in like in blockchain technology as well. So do you think like it can be doable with that, or it's like a very much like it's your proprietary product used for your internal captive consumption?
I mean, right now, I mean, that's how I have built it is like use it for our initiatives, esports. But as a framework, yeah, why not? Like, I think there's so many tools are being built. I think LinkedIn is so big that it will be very difficult for them to change their foundational architecture. Like, hey, I want to overnight make it blockchain based, and I want to overnight, go use AI to go through everyone's profile and make sure like did this person really work in this company or not, right? I think it's a fundamental change to LinkedIn. Um, but I do feel that, and that's what the advantage of startups in AI world. I mean, that's where the disruption is happening, right? Because the larger players, while they're big, for them to change, it's a big change. But with a startup, you can build the fundamental architecture from scratch. And
Correct.
that's where the disruption is happening, right? So, in my view, is it extensible? Yes, it is extensible because every every industry has this challenge, right? How do I get more verified profile? Like it's very so many young people they are giving their profiles and goes to some agency. There's some AI bot sitting and like just doing keyword matching. Like it's broken, right? The system doesn't work, and there's just so many people who are tired also of it, right? So why not build a system which is more sustainable? You're not like sending your resume, catering to the job description and throwing around like 100 copies of your profile and everything goes through like some AI bot, right? I think that system we have seen last 1.5 years it's not working. And it's not helping organizations, it's not helping candidates either. I think the best way is like build a profile that doesn't belong. It's not a centralized profile. That's why blockchain is important, right? You need to have a more footprint of using blockchain and especially if you look at in esports, right? A lot of industries there's no easy way to verify also. Esports you
Hmm.
can verify, right? Because you have especially players who like you actually worked in on the system side. You have game data, things like those. A lot of that automation can already happen. But even for other people, right? Your digital footprint across Twitch or like any other places, right? For content, you can use that for verification. So I think it to me like esports is a good place to start this phase, right? Is it applicable to other industries? Absolutely. I think that's where the uh, digitalization of identities are going to expand. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how do you scale community without like losing authenticity?
Without, I think that's the only way to scale community with authenticity. So I don't think like losing authenticity is even in question, right? Um, my take is like be authentic for whatever you are, build your community around it, right? And just stick to that. And I think somewhere that comes to your identity, right? And it's very important to not uh, build your identity on how other people do what they do or how it should be. I think authenticity means you build your identity for who you are, right? Somewhere
Yeah.
it's very personal to you. I think that's what I believe. I think you know, I I I am a more I would say like I'm a creative person and I've been in techie. So my gamer tag is creative. It's because I love create. That's my identity, right? I need to operate based on that identity. I need to stop chasing that is not meant for me, right? So that's what
Yeah.
authenticity is. So I think if you are authentic, you build your community around authenticity. That's the key.
Absolutely. And like for from the parents' perspective, like what's that misconception you found that parents have, which you want to like remove or erase it completely from their mindset?
I
Because
mean, there are two aspects. I think one is obviously screen time. As parents in gaming, like that's one of their major concerns, right? Like how to rationalize screen time. Safety, online safety. right? Like a lot of parents don't know what and where their kids are playing, with who they're talking to, what they're talking about. I think online safety is a big problem, big issue that parents won't get addressed. And third is, I mean, it shouldn't be just wasting time, right? Parents want their kids to succeed. They want their kids to learn, make it a learning experience. So I think those are the three objections I would say we have always dealt with. Is like, okay, how can we keep your kid online safe and secure, right? How can we make it a learning experience? And yeah, I mean, I think mostly that's what parents look for, and that's why it's so important that I see esports growth as a more community oriented growth. I think we're still away from a Microsoft of the world or Google of the world where you kind of control everything, right? It's not a mature place. So I think
Mm.
it's super important to help and support local community businesses who are in esports, like gaming cafes or like or like teams and all that. I think going there because they have direct access to parents, right? Schools. It's very important wherever. I think parents have a very key role in this in adoption. The more friction from parents, the more difficult it's for you. Hello.
No, absolutely, Saurabh, because like as a parents, we are concerned about that digital safety and the screen time which like kids are spending, and even if like whether it is effective and productive, that matters most rather than just like maybe spending time and casually just scrolling reels. So even like one of my friend, he told like I give phone to my kids, but on one condition that they will not uh, just scroll. They will search some particular item, then watch the content around that. They are not allowed to scroll it and watch random content.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny that I'm a parent as well, right? So whenever I meet a parent, I tell them, "You have a phone?" They said yes, and I ask them like, "Can you show me your screen time?" Right? Like you're worried about your child's screen time. I want to see your screen time, and they're hesitant about sharing their screen time. So then I ask them like, okay, you don't want to share, but at least tell me how do you use your mobile phone, right? Are you like really doing productive work where I have like so many different productive apps and I'm using bank apps and all? No, I mean most of the adults use more than 50% of time. What do you say, right? Like just scrolling. It's called scrolling, right? And that's when they realize. I said like, don't worry, gaming. The way you look at it is it's the same thing as mobile phone, right? It's a similar kind of thing, right? It's up to you how you leverage that. So I think I wish just more adults understand that analogy. Like, am I using my mobile phone in the best productive way possible, or am I just expecting my kids to do the same thing?
No, that's it. And what's the like most crazy thing or like important life lessons you have learned during your last 3 years of entrepreneurship journey, vis-a-vis which you can never learn from your like maybe 20 years or 30 years of corporate career?
I would say like 20 years of my career and 3 years more I've learned in last 3 years. Actually. Like first 20 years it was, and I think mainly because as a founder you are solving problem right every single day basis, and you don't have any safety net. You carry the risk right of failing again and building it again. Actually, versus in corporate and bigger teams, right? Like you have a safety net. You're not losing anything. There's not much at stake, right? People are still going to get their salaries no matter what. They'll still find some other job, eventually. So I think that's what my learning is. I think a lot of people think like, oh, you need tons of money to be a founder. I actually think other way around. I feel like lack of money is going to teach you how to be a good founder. Because if you have something more, then you will not aspire how to do it better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's my learning. I think money doesn't solve problems. Money is important to expand. Money is important to help you, right? But just thinking that you have tons of money and you'll be able to do anything, it's a mindset, right? And scarcity of resource. We used to hear like
You become
Yeah,
better planner. I think people can plan better if the resources are limited.
yeah,
If it is like
absolutely. Like
unlimited, so
necessity is
it's
mother of invention, right? We've
yeah,
heard that. Like unless you feel the necessity, you will not become innovative.
correct. And what's a like non-obvious skill a founder needs that like nobody talks about, like from your personal experience? What's that like personal trait or skill as a founder is required, which like nobody is talking about, and people should definitely know that like you need to know these skills before anybody starts that entrepreneurship journey.
Uh, I, I don't know. Actually, I don't know how other founders think. I can tell you how what works for me. I think I've heard this. Like a lot of founders are like this uh, kind of autocratic, right? Like this is my way, right? And because you're so invested in what you're doing, so a lot of founders like I already have a vision. I know how to execute it, and people just need to follow it, right? That's how a lot of founders operate. I think there is a way to do it better. Uh, while you being a leader, you carry all the risks, you carry the vision also, but trust your team to help you execute it. A lot of founders who do not do that, they'll end up like burning themselves, wearing out, and your trust with your team will not build over time. So I feel like you know having that balance is very important as a founder. Is like, yeah, believe in your vision, but be open minded. Listen to your team also, listen to the people you work with, and build them also in the process, right? Don't be so insecure that, oh, I'm the founder and someone, how can someone else be better than me? Like your job is not to your job is to create those specialists, right? Those people around you that are going to help you execute that.
No, absolutely. That's what leadership is: creating more leaders, so that like eventually creating more leaders, giving them more ownership in the process, thought process, decision making. That's how you get more free time to execute or to make better strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're failing, like you have to let other people also fail. It's okay. People are going to make mistakes.
Ah, true, true. And like, what's a one piece of advice now you would like to give yourself, maybe when you started your career, which could have like helped you in maybe shortening your success journey?
My advice, I think I wish I understood myself better. That's the only thing I can say.
Okay, and like just maybe elaborate a bit, like what you think thought about like what you were, but actually during what exploring while exploring this life, you thought, okay, no, that was like a misconception about myself.
Yeah, I think it's more than anything. Like I think it's very spiritual, in very spiritual sense. I would say I think I see it as we are kids and we're growing up, we are so focused on external world, right? Like what others are doing. And I need to do this, I need to do that, right? And you're trying to build yourself based on that. Versus knowing yourself is like truly understanding what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, what you like doing, right? Where your interest lies. I think that's where that journey is. And it's not easy, right? I cannot expect my 20-year-old to know that also. Like I wish I knew all that. It's a journey, right? It's you experience with time. So I don't think I want to change anything. I think, as I said, like it all culminates, right? All you're building experience to go somewhere. I don't think I want to change anything, but yeah, if I could, it would have been good if I knew more about myself. I think.
And like, what's that? Maybe during this while building Fractal and XP League. So, what do you think? Like, what could be that one part of your journey which thought, okay, like it's not going to work, but it worked out very well. How did you push through that?
Practically is too early, so I don't think I can say anything. Uh, I think Espotz certainly. When I started, I was like, I have no clue like how to talk to parents, how to convince them. I didn't know how these leagues happened, how like game mechanics work, right? So I always and I remember like 3 years ago, I was just looking for a spot. I was looking for just if someone gives me some place where I can set up some machines and start talking to kids and parents, right? It was tough. It was really tough, actually. But I think one great thing happened in my league commissioner, Greg. He's also co-founder of Factory Game. So young guy, very passionate. I was very lucky to meet him. He trusted in me. I trusted in him. We worked together very well as a team. He built a very strong product, and I said, "You you provide the education what kids need because you know what to do, and what to talk to parents, leave that to me. I'll talk to the parents about why they should do it." So I think that strategy really worked out well. I mean, obviously we had our own ups and downs, but in general, both from I would say finance perspective as well as overall, I think we have had seen some great growth. We started in 2023. We launched in 2024. It's our third year. Uh, just based on our year-on-year growth, we have been seeing 70% year-on-year growth just from that.
And you are also talking about your own creating on games through Minecraft and Roblox, so that like it becomes more democratized, which is not controlled by the publisher. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, not Roblox though. I, I think most of the people I work with in our team have a very strong opinion that we don't want to get into Roblox. I mean, it's one thing to build, as Fortnite Creative also has, you can build now more maps. Minecraft has always been there. Roblox is there, right? So, I mean, as a creator, you can create any platform, pick up any platform. I mean, and then there you have indie games, right? Like people develop games all the time. Um, I think again, I come from the perspective that most of the key games are already controlled by game publishers. There's not a whole lot you can create there, right? And not just games, right? Like they mostly control the entire tournament and league system also in some ways, right? So I always felt like that should not be applicable for kids. You know, why apply that to kids? Like kids are supposed to be free, learn whatever they want to, pick up anything, right? So I see that as a. I am not too worried about the professional side. I mean, yeah, it's a money game. Do whatever you need to do, right? But I think it should be much more democratized for education. So I think that's where I was like, I think we need to think about something that at least kids can use to learn, right? And that's where we start. So we have a Minecraft Bed Wars as one of the esports titles that we do at Espotz. We have 4 teams that are qualified for our nationals, and that's when we thought, I mean, kids love it. It's not a very traditional esports game, but then why not like start thinking about it as an esports? Minecraft is more common for like kids to create, right, modify, and or from creation perspective. But I think it can be a great option for kids to compete also. So I think that's
Ah,
where we close Minecraft.
that's nice. So maybe just to maybe as a wrap up question, last question, one message you want listeners to walk away with from this conversation, and through one message you want to pass on or give it to the young generation.
I just want to say like sit with yourself, figure out, give yourself some time. What do you really want to do? Where do you find happiness, and give it your 100%. Don't worry about timing. I mean, things will work out. You know, uh, there's no need for an instant gratification. I tell my son also, like, give yourself 100% to what you want to be, who you want to be, where you need to be. Right? Have that patience and continue working on it. It will work out.
No, absolutely. Thanks, Saurabh, for this amazing conversation. And it was like really nice to have you on this podcast. Really, it was very much interactive and got to know a lot about you, your product, how you are building it, and how you work with this young generation, and like really nice, wonderful vision which you are carrying, and maybe a lot of learning from the Western world, which you can, I'm sure, like implement to in Southeast Asia and other emerging countries like India. So really great, Saurabh, to have you on the podcast, and I'm sure like a lot of learnings for this. Whosoever will watch the podcast, they will have a lot of learning to pick up how to be, what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it leads, how the system is broken, how they can fix it, and I'm sure like a lot of people will take that learnings and start implementing in their journey. Thank you very much,
Yeah, absolutely,
Saurabh.
Kaushal. That's again, I think this was very engaging. I'm very happy with the questions you asked. It gave me an opportunity to share my perspectives and my experience. I really appreciate that.
Most welcome. Thank you.